Calculating probability. We've mentioned how to get probability before, but we haven't really written down the calculations. So to find the probability of an event happening, it's a division. It works out as a fraction, and it's quite long to write, but we'll write it down. It's the number of times the event is in the sample space divided by the total number of outcomes in the sample space. Now that may seem confusing, and you obviously don't need to write this out as a formula when you do find the probability. All you need to write out when you're going to find the probability of an event is PR and some abbreviation for the event that we're looking for, such as PRE. And then you'll write the number of times the event is in the sample space over the total number of outcomes in the sample space. So when we do an example with this, we'll look at what this means. In fact, we'll do this bit first. We also need to write out how to get the probability of complementary events. That means, of course, that if I've got the probability of an event, its complement is the probability of the event not happening. So probability of E means the probability of an event and probability of not E is the probability of the event not happening. Its complement. And you remember that little apostrophe after the event means not happening. Now you've got a couple of ways of finding the probability of complementary events. I'm going to write down the probability of the event not happening is 1 minus the probability of the event happening. But not everyone's going to like this notation, this way of writing things. So I'll show you this as normal working as well. So these can be a little bit confusing until we get our heads around them. So using these for an example, the letters of the word college are written on separate cards and one is selected at random. Find the probability of getting an E. So using our formula, that will be the number of times the event is in the sample space. How many E's are there in this sample space? Because of course the sample space is COLLEGE. There's 2 E's, so we say there's 2 E's out of the total number of outcomes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's all it means. How many times is the event we're looking for in the sample space, and how many outcomes are in the sample space altogether? The probability of getting a vowel. How many vowels are in the sample space? 1, 2, 3. That's 3 out of a total of 7 outcomes in the sample space. Now we've already found the probability of getting an E. Now we want the probability of not getting an E. Now there are 2 ways you can do this. The first way is, you might know that the probability of the complement of an event is 1 minus the probability of the event. 1 minus the probability of getting an E, which is 2 over 7. And you can use your calculator if you want. 1 minus, 2 over 7. Sorry, someone set my calculator to the old-fashioned look. It's 5 over 7. But if you want, it's fine just to remember that the probability of the event not happening has to be whatever is left over from the probability of the event happening. So, the probability of getting an E was 2 out of 7. What's left over out of the total number of outcomes? It's 5 out of 7. So it's fine to think of it that way. And we might also get asked for the probability of more than one thing. What's the probability that I get an E or an L? Well, then I need to look at which letters are E or L. Which one of those? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 letters that would make me happy if I wanted an E or an L. So that's 4 out of 7. So while the type of the formula is a little bit hard to understand, it's actually really easy to use because you're just saying for any event, the probability is how many times is it in the sample space divided by the total number of outcomes in the sample space. And the probability of an event's complement is whatever was left over out of the total.